Okay, we're on 70A. Three lines from the top. The last word of the line. Baimine, Rav Acha Bar Huna Rav Sheshes. Rav Acha asked Rav Sheshes, Chutz mecharuv ploni. What if a person sells a field and he says, except for this carob tree, or chutz misadon ploni, or except for this sycamore, and there's more than one of these trees in the field. Mo, what do we say? Also, charuv hudalokane. Are we saying it's just that specific carob tree that's been reserved? Hashar charuvim kane, but any other carob trees in the field would be included because he reserved this particular one that implies that he's selling the others. Or maybe it implies the whole. When I say see that carob tree, I'm keeping that for myself. That implies all of the other carob trees. Amarle, so he answers, Lokana. No, the buyer does not get the other carob trees. They are indeed reserved. Esfe. So Rach asks him, Chutz micharuv ploni is another brisa that says, if I sell you a field except for this particular carob, Chutz misadam ploni, or this particular sycamore, lo kana, says that is the buyer doesn't get the other trees and they are reserved. My love also charuv lo kana. Now, what does it mean? You don't get it. Does it mean that particular tree is what you reserve, Hashar Harvim Kana, which implies that the other ones are indeed sold. Malay, well, that's not what it means. No, it means even the other carob trees are also reserved. Teda, and how do I know? Diilu Amarle Sadi Mechorla Chutz Misada Planis. Let's do an analogous case. If I say my field is sold to you except for this field, right? So let's say you have fields A and B side by side, and I say I'm selling you my field except for field B. How he who so would you think it means to exempt or to reserve all fields because you pointed out one field that you're reserving? No, obviously you're selling a field and you're reserving the one that you mentioned. So why don't you say the same thing here? The other one that you didn't reserve is indeed sold. Lokana, certainly it is reserved. You should say the same thing about the carob tree. If I say I'm selling you the field except for that carob tree, that's the one that I mean to reserve and not the others. So it's not a good proof. Avikadam, right? Some say that the exchange went like this. Bamine Rav Acha Barhuna Rav Sheshes. Rav Acha asked Rav Sheshes, Chatzi Charuf Plani. What if I asked if I reserve half of a carob tree? Okay, well, this is a different thing. Chatzi Salam Plani, or half of a sycamore mahu. What do we say about that? About the other half of the tree. Shacharuvin Vadai Lokani. Do we say certainly we're only talking about this tree? The other trees are for sure reserved. But do we say that he can indeed reserve half of the specific tree? Or maybe the reservation doesn't work at all because it doesn't make sense to get half a tree. Amarle Lokani, Sarv Shesha says, you don't even get the other half. In other words, you can reserve half a tree. And certainly that, but so Esve, so he asks them, Chutz mi chasi charuflani. We have another brisa that says, if I sell you everything but reserve half of a charuv, or Chutz mi chasi sadon plani, or half of a sycamore, shar charuvin lo kana. Then all the other trees in the field are reserved. My love shacharuvin hudlo kana hamashashir charuv kana. So does that imply that yeah, you reserve the other trees in the field, but not this one? You don't get to reserve half of the carob tree, Amalei. So he answers, "Lo, that's not what it means. You can indeed reserve half the particular tree." Teidan, how do I know? Dilu Amarle Sadi Mechorla Chutz Michasisa. If I sell you field A and I say, but except for half of field B, Hahu Hudulakana, would we say that it's only the half of the second field that's reserved Haidach Kana, that he doesn't reserve, the other half of the second field? No, it makes no sense. I'm selling you field A. right? Ella lokane. So you're not reserving any of the second field. Hakanami lokane here too. With the tree, you don't acquire any part of the tree. Okay. Boiminer Rav Chisda. Rav Master of Chisda, Hamafkid, it's Chaver Bishtar. If you if you give as you give as a shomer something to your friend to hold for you, and you record this in a contract, right? You make a contract for that he's keeping this for you. Varmerlo, and then later on he tells you, I already gave it back to you. Mahu, what do we say? Do we believe him? Me, Amrina, do we say me go? So without, we know the rule without a star, right? Without a contract, we'd say, what would we say? Hamasim Chavero Raya, I guess, right? Is that the reason? But we say, yeah, if you say you gave it back, then you're off the hook. But in this case, when there's a contract, Migo Dibay Amar Nansu Mehaman, he could have said if he wanted to keep the thing and lie about it, he could have said, you know what, it was, a hurricane came and or whatever. It was some accident happened, some onus happened, and that's why I don't have it anymore. And then you would be believed. Hashtanami Mehaman, so you should be believed in the case of the contract. Or Dilma Armalay Sharkabi, or can the owner say, well, if it's true that you gave it back to me, you would have demanded to get the contract back, right? Why did you leave the contract in my hand? If I still have the contract, that proves that must be that you still have it. So he says, no, we do believe him with the Migo, right? That he could have said an onus happened. And so if he says that I gave it back to you, then he's also believed. The So what about the question? Like, wouldn't the owner be able to say to them, "What are you doing with the contract?" Or what am I doing with the contract? If I gave it back to you, you would have demanded. If you gave it back to me, you would have demanded the contract. Amalei v'latameh. According to that, Amalei Nancy. If he says an accident happened to it, mimatzi Amalei shtarcha b'yadam boy. He can't say like what is your star doing? Why do I still have the star? So therefore, the Shomer's claim that he returned it is believed, even though he has the the contract. Like since the Shomer can say that there was an onus, and then the star would be useless. So we also have to consider. We also have to. It could be that he returned it without getting the contract back. Um, In other words, because he has this migo, that is why he could say, um, "What do I need to ask for the contract back for? It's not even necessary because I could always claim that if I were pressed, I could claim that an accident happened to it." Amarle, so he says so in the end, Caroline Nansu, when you make that claim that it was that it was an accident happened to it, la shvua, boy. Well, don't you need a shvua, right? If you're so it's not so easy to claim that an onus happened to it. You would have to do a shvua. So you can't say that, oh, he could have said an onus happened to it. You would have to take a shvua, which is a serious matter. And if you were lying, that doesn't the migo doesn't apply then because you couldn't have claimed that. If you did claim that, then you would be liable to a shvua. So Hachanami, so Rav Chisda says, yes, that's true. My Naman. So what do I mean when we say that he's believed? Naman b'shvua. He's believed if he takes a shvua. That the that he was that he gave it back, right? So it's equivalent cases in it. Either way, I'm going to have to take a shvua, right? So if I say I gave it back to you, I must be telling you the truth because I have to take a shvua, and if I had said onus, I would also have to take a shvua. So they're equivalent claims, and you could believe it. Now, then the believability is not really that we just straight out believe you. We make you take a shvua for as we do with other shomrim cases. Now, Lema looked at the Haitanai. Maybe the argument between Rav Chizda and who's the other one? Rav Chizda and forgot already. Rav Amram is this Machlokas Tanaim. Tanya, we have a brisa. Shtar kis hayotze al yasamim. If you have like a deposit certificate that that someone produces against an estate. So what happens here is that you have someone who's loaned money to let's say to the father. Father dies, and they demand the loan. But you're demanding the loan. By showing this deposit certificate, right, that you've invested the money somewhere, and you're making a claim against the estate to pay back the money. Daine Golam, right? The judges of the Gola say, Nishba v'gova kulo. The borrower can make a shvua that he hasn't been paid yet, and he collects. The Daine Eretz Yisrael Amrei Nishba v'gova mechza. He makes a shvua, but he only gets half because it's under dispute. Everybody agrees with the opinion that was prevalent in the Hardah, that they said, Hi Iska. If you have an Iska, which is like a loan that is structured as an investment. Palga milvo, palga pikadon. This is to avoid interest, right? Avoid the problem of rebase. And so you structure to say half of this amount is a loan and half is a deposit, right? So when when it makes money, you attribute that not to the loan part, but to the deposit part. So when so if so in Iska, if you use this Heter Iska, use this kind of this design, then half of it is considered a loan and half is considered a pikadon. So my love, so okay, so everybody agrees if it's half and half, we're fine. That it's that we understand that half of it is a loan and half is a pikadon. So everybody agrees with Narda that half that is a loan you can collect from the estate, but the question is about the deposit part. My love, okay, maybe this is the argument. The Marsavar one holds Masi Amrle Shtarch Boy. If the father were still there, were alive, he could say, "Well, if I gave it back to you, then then why do I still have the star?" Right? Sorry, the borrower, the guy who loaned the money could say to the father, "You borrowed the money from me. If you gave it back, why would I still have the documents?" Umar Savar, the other one says, "Lo Amri, we don't say that. That the father would have been believed that he gave it back to him, because he could have said an accident happened to it." So Gemara says, "No, it's not really the same argument." Everybody agrees with Rav Chizda that the guy is believed if he says he gave it back to you, even with a pikadon. So what's the argument here? Demar Savari Misa de Pare, if it's true that the father paid him back, Meimar Hava Amar, he would have told his children. He would have let them know that he paid them back, so they wouldn't be on the hook. Umar Savar, but the other one holds Amor Malachamavasu Dianse. Maybe he didn't get a chance yet. Maybe he gave it back on a Tuesday morning and they didn't have dinner yet and he couldn't tell them yet and he died. The Malachamavas got him before he was able to tell them. And so the fact that he hadn't said anything is not a proof. And here's a similar case. Shalach Rav Huna bar Avin. Rav Huna sent the following. Person gives a deposit, and there's a document to prove it. And then the guy says, I gave it back to you already. Now we believe the guy. Even though there's a contract. And what about the document that a lender shows that he has this this deposit or this investment from that he's made an investment with the estate or with the father. That he can collect with a shua. Tarte, so Gemara says aren't these contradictory? Shani Hasam, Dim Isa, the pari, in the case of the estate, if he had actually paid, Meimar Amar, he would have told them, the father would have told them. And so that accords with Rav Huna. Rav Huna accords with the distinction between the estate and the non-estate case. Rava says, the law is you collect half with a shvua. So, in other words, don't we usually say that the halacha follows the Daine Bava, the Daine Begola? So he says, Ha'amar Rava Nishma V'Gova Mechsa, but Rava said, you get to collect half. That of course with the Dayanim of Eretz Yisrael. Amalei, so he answers Anan the Daine Gola. Anan the Daine Gola Ibchala Masnisin. We have it backwards, right? What we said before is the opinion of the Daine Eretz Yisrael is actually the opinion of Daine Gola, and that's why we rule that way. So we're switching the opinions to make it match. And that is where we will stop today. The Mishnah top of 71. Have a good day, everybody.